Hello, this is part 2 of our study of John chapter 1, verses 1 to 14. Today we'll be looking at verse 3. So as we look at John 1:3, we're going to divide this verse into phrases and then examine each word to understand what John was teaching us in this verse. And by the end, we should have it memorized as well. So through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. So when we divide it into phrases, it looks like this. And we start unpacking the words. We first see him, which going back to verses 1 and 2 refers to the Word, which in John 1:14 is Jesus. And then we see a contrast between lines 1 and 2. In line 1, John presents the positive teaching. In the second line, he presents the negative. So in the first one, he says all things were made through Jesus. In the second line, he says nothing that has existed wasn't made by Jesus. So Jesus made everything. If you see something, Jesus made it, is his point. The second thing that's interesting to notice is in the word through. He didn't say by Jesus all things were made, but through Jesus all things were made. So this gives the idea that Jesus was the agent of creation. Many theologians think that the Father initiated and created through Jesus the Son, through the Word. Next, we notice the word made, that through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. And so the idea of made is to bring into existence, that Jesus brought into existence everything that existed. And then we notice the verbs here, were and was. These are both aorist tense, which is contrasting to what we saw in verses 1 and 2, which were imperfect, that start in the past, continue in the future. These are simple past, that Jesus created everything in the past, is done. And then the last, that has been made, he switches to a perfect tense, which has the idea that it was completed in the past, but has continuing effect into the future. So by these were, was, has been, he's saying that creation is finished. Jesus has brought everything into existence that is existing. So we think of Genesis 1, that when he finished the sixth day, he was finished. And that is what John is communicating with these verbs. So let's look at John verse 3 in light of the first two verses. So we see that all three of these verses teach us about Jesus. Jesus, we learned in verse 1, exists eternally. He is different than God the Father. He is God, and he has an eternal relationship with the Father. Now in verse 3, we see that Jesus created everything. So look at how much amazing information John has packed into these three simple verses. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made.